Fourth, in many cases, Kelly, after grooming, isolating, and intimidating his child victims, recorded them being sexually abused and humiliated by him. He directed these videos and produced them, not only for his own sexual gratification, but in some instances for the purpose of using these videos to silence and threaten his victims with public exposure of these tapes if they ever revealed what he had done to them. These tapes were not sex tapes. They were child pornography, which is a crime. In their closing argument, the defense had the nerve to bring up the name of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. What they failed to mention is that Martin Luther King Jr. said that, quote, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character," end quote. That is what the jury did today. Based on the evidence, the jury must have concluded that the defendant, R. Kelly, was no Martin Luther King Jr. Instead, R. Kelly is a sexual predator who is guilty of very serious federal crimes. The defense should be ashamed of even mentioning the name of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. in any discussion of R. Kelly, a dangerous sexual predator who has harmed so many women and underage girls.
The attorney, now here's where it gets crazy, okay? The attorney, Gloria Alred, is one of the most vocal crusaders against sexual harassment and assault.
Privy Attorney Gloria Alred represents several alleged victims of R. Kelly, and she says this VHS tape appears to be new evidence her client stumbled across when cleaning out boxes in his basement.
Attorney Gloria Alred is holding a press conference at the Lotte New York Palace. She says it comes in response to threats and retaliation by singer R. Kelly against one of his alleged victims. He has been accused of physically and emotionally abusing more than 50 women. Let's listen into this live.
I'm attorney Gloria Alred. I represent 33 accusers of Bill Cosby.
Privately, her firm helped negotiate a settlement that muffled one of Mr. Weinstein's victims in 2004, taking a 40% cut. The firm has also worked on settlements that silence victims of Larry Nassar and Bill O'Reilly.
I am also a survivor of sexual abuse, and I believe without a doubt that the circumstances that led to my abuse and allowed it to continue are directly the result of the fact that the organizations created by Congress to oversee and protect me as an athlete, USA Gymnastics, and the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee failed to do their jobs, or any individual to experience the horror that I and hundreds of others have endured before, during, and continuing to this day in the wake of the Larry Nassar abuse.
In an interview for She Said, Alred defends her use of confidential settlements, arguing that the clients are not forced to sign them and offer prefer them for reasons of privacy. If they wanted to be private, they could just not speak. What they need to sign something to say I'm not going to come forward for? Shut up. Alred's daughter, okay, the lawyer Lisa Bloom, a prominent victims' rights attorney, was working behind the scenes with Mr. Weinstein at a rate of $895 an hour to squash the journalist's investigations and thwart his accusers. Woo! Pause. What does Nearly Fuller say about how the white supremacist is on every side of every argument?
I want to make this very, very clear. The white supremacists are very skilled at the art, science, code of deception. All right? And they are the best strategists in the world for dominating and mistreating people. And part of that strategy, a key part, is to do what? What did I say earlier in this program? If some of you were with this program at the beginning, today. I said it over and over again, and I'm going to end up this program saying it. The white supremacists take all sides of every argument when it comes to people of color. so that they have positioned themselves to have, in the end, the same strength or greater strength than they had before the argument started. I'm going to emphasize that again. They are very, very scientific at taking all sides. See, they position their people on all sides of not just two sides, three sides. If there's an argument of any kind, religious argument, political argument, educational argument, they position themselves on all sides of every facet of every argument. Don't forget that. Like the Godfather trying to tell Michael, I mean, you know, whomever comes to you and set up this meeting, that's a traitor. Don't forget that.
In a confidential memo, Mr. Weinstein, in a confidential memo to Mr. Weinstein that Ms. Bloom wrote in December 16, which is reproduced, and she said she offered to help him damage control with the reputation of one of his accusers, Rose McGowan, and portrayed her background as a victim's rights advocate as an asset. I feel equipped to help you against the Roses of the world because I have represented so many of them. Ms. Bloom wrote before laying out a multi-step playbook for how to intimidate accusers or paint them as liars. One of Ms. Bloom's suggested tactics for undermining Ms. McGowan, we can place an article regarding her becoming increasingly unglued so that when someone Googles this, it's what pops up when she is discredited. You see, black folks, sidebar, black people, sidebar. You see what they do? This is what they're doing to their own. You think that we're crazy when we're telling you guys that these are conspiracy theories and all y'all calling us conspiracy theories, telling us we wearing tin hats? Look at this. You think, and this is what they're doing just to squash Me Too. Just to make Me Too a movement against black men. And not a movement against rapists of all kinds. It's a movement against black men. Look at what we're doing in this situation. You think they wouldn't put something on the rest of us? Look how they tried their hardest to make Dave Chappelle look like he was crazy when he didn't want to. Okay? When he said no. When they came knocking and they told him, do what we tell you to do, or we not going to say do this deal with you. He said, y'all can suck. And what did they do? They painted him as crazy. All the news stories. When you Googled him, it came up that, is Dave Chappelle losing his mind? And now look at Dave Chappelle, showing us that he's as sane now as he was back then. I'm going to read that again. We can place an article regarding her becoming increasingly unglued so that when someone Googles her, this is what pops up and she's discredited. Ms. Bloom accompanied Mr. Weinstein on a surprise visit to the Times the day before the initial article was published to present the journalists with the information intended to portray several accusers, including Ashley Judd, the first actress to go on record as an unreliable and mentally unstable. Ms. Bloom had said she was crossing sides to work with Weinstein to encourage him to apologize for his behavior. Apology. They wanted Bill Cosby behind bars. They got Bill Cosby behind bars for Benadryl that he gave people in their hands. He didn't slip it in the drinks. He gave her the Benadryl. She took the Benadryl. They said he drugged her. How? She later told reporters that she deeply regretted representing him, which she said was a colossal mistake. The quintessential white woman. I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I didn't know. My God. Another member of Mr. Weinstein's legal team was attorney David Boies, helped Mr. Weinstein evade scrutiny for his treatment of women over 15 years, working to halt reporting on the producer by news outlets, blocking the board of Mr. Weinstein's company from reviewing his personal file, and helping Mr. Weinstein execute a contract with Black Cube, an Israeli private investigations firm that promised a $300,000 bonus if it stopped the Times investigation. Ryan Farrow, who published a separate Weinstein expose in The New Yorker in October 2017, later broke the news of Black Cube's work for Weinstein. She said reveals emails showing that during the time that Mr. Boies represented Mr. Weinstein, the two men discussed potential film roles. Everybody wants to be in Hollywood, except for my black ass. I'm running from Hollywood. Mr. Weinstein and the two men discussed potential film roles for Mr. Boies' daughter, an aspiring actress. Oh, shit. In an interview for the book, Mr. Boies said he was unaware of the underhanded tactics that the Black Cube used against journalists and regretted not paying closer attention to the firm's work. Once again, I'm sorry. What nearly full of that? The white supremacists will give you an apology any day of the week. What you want? How many apologies you want? You want truckloads of apologies? I got truckloads of apologies. As long as I can still subjugate you.
You don't ever ask for an apology. You don't ever ask for love. And you don't ever ask for respect. Now, an apology is something that should be given. Otherwise, it's no good at all. The white supremacists apologize all the time. They don't care. How many do you want, buddy? Hey, you know, we got a truckload of apologists sitting right outside the door here. I mean, you want 3 or 4, or I'll give you the whole truckload. How about that? You know, just go out there and pick what you want. You know, apologies all over the place. Signs saying apologies in all kinds of languages and whatnot. I apologize. Oh, I apologize. Oh, yes. Oh, wow. Oh, I apologize. Oh, I painfully apologize. I apologetically apologize. How many do you want? Well, we got them. We got warehouses of apologies. All right? So apologies what you want? You got them. Hey, you know, but because, you know, you value it so much, we can take the position that, well, we'll think about maybe giving you 1 apology, and maybe in about 30 years we'll give you 2, and that will slow things down, because since you value apologies that much, well, hey, we can play that game. I can give you a truckload right now, or I can give you just half an apology, and then the other half every now and then, every 100 years. I mean, you know, we can stretch this thing out, all right? Since we're just dealing with apologies here, we ain't dealing with nothing else. We're not correcting nothing, but we will apologize. But, you know, how do you want it? You want it on an installment basis, or do you want a whole truckload at once? In fact, we can, if you want it, we'll apologize in advance for all the things that we're going to do. Try that on for size, buddy. You know? In answer to the question, never ask for an apology. Why? It ain't worth nothing when you ask for it. It worth 0. You ain't got yourself nothing. You just think you got yourself something. And never ask for love. You know, there's an old song. I told you that I love you, now get out. That's the name of a song. It came out in the 1920s. All right, I think. 30s. Okay?
I listened to that song.
Negro, you can add that
to
the song. Negro, I told you that I love you. Oh, I love you. Like, get the blank out of here.
Right. Okay.
All right. See, we always go for the drama rather than substance. We got to get out of that. Oh, apologize to me. Oh, I need your apology. You don't need nothing of the kind. Compensate for all this damage that you've been doing, and an apology don't know where to cut it. They ain't nowhere in the neighborhood.
Gotcha.
Make things the way they ought to be, okay, in every area of activity. And then that last one, respect. Black people kill each other all the time about, give me some respect. That's another thing you never ask for. You give yourself respect. And what is self-respect? Self-respect is you refuse to tell yourself a lie. We all need a rock hammer, which we all need a personal code, which means do the things that work. Stop doing things that don't work. Okay? Have a code for everything. Try a lot of things and make sure that whatever you try always works, and stick with it. That will be your own personal code. You don't have to wait for Nita Fuller to codify things. Just do things that work.
Right.
And stop doing things that don't work for your benefit and the constructive benefit of others.
Y'all wait on that apology. I want my check. But he defended the assistance he provided to Mr. Weinstein as the producer, sought to conceal allegations, and said he didn't have any regrets that I represented him the way I did. Child, I said, Mark. And once again, we go back to Rita. She talks about all the time that how when the Nazis were put on trial, all of them said they were just doing their job. Okay, so you hear that a lot, you know, people in certain positions, you know, when they shoot unarmed, you know, black people in the back, and they say, I was just doing my job. How can you fire me for just doing my job?